Hello, this is Andy Belanger. I'm working on Southern Cross for Image Comics, and this is 11 O'Clock Comics.
Stunning. Okay. It's like almost like you're excited because of the new paradigm this week.
First of all, the old new paradigm or the new old. I'm excited for many reasons. One is because you're back.
Yay!
I am not excited that Jason is not here, of course. But I read some fun stuff this week, and I'm glad I did because it offset some of the more craptacular moments of the week. So, yeah.
There you go. Lots of stuff to talk about this week.
Yeah.
Many, many books were read. And we'll get to them because this is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 860.
Damn.
And I'm Vince B.
You are Vince B. As we inch closer to 900, I am David A. Price.
Yes, you are. And you may notice the third head of King Ghidra is not here this week. Jason is on vacation. So a little bit
and everybody said if Jason's not going to do it, I'm not doing it because we asked more than a couple of people.
Who said that?
Like coming in tonight.
Who said that?
Everybody we spoke with.
Are you kidding me? No, not everybody, because Tony said he couldn't do it because he had obligations, and it wasn't.
Wink, wink. We know what he really meant.
No, what? We snap our fingers, and Tony says, "How high?" That's how it works. But, we solicited, we floated it out there for a couple, 2-3 people to join us. And one of them is a very high-profile artist currently working at Image, with Image, let's say. And he's just like, no, I can't. Got to catch a flight. So, would have been cool because I got caught up on his book. And I would have slathered him with...
to catch up on his book. So... when he does decide to finally, deign us with his presence.
Yeah, there were wrinkles in it that were not apparent in the first issue. And I was like, damn, those are cool. But you don't get that from the first issue. And it would have been nice to have him here to praise his ass. But unfortunately, it's going to have to wait. But you don't have to wait to save on omnibuses, graphic novels, collected editions, and manga. Where do you go? cheapgraphicnovels.com. It's right in the name, cheapgraphicsnovels.com. And I say unto thee, the pre-order for the Romnibus is live.
Yes.
Yes, indeedy. 40% off. It's a 125 list. Well worth the price at 125, I say. Your opinion may vary. If it does, phooey on you. But anyway, $125 list. Your price? $74.99. That's a $50 savings. That's insane. I will put the link to the omnibus order page. You're not going to have to search or scroll through anything. I'm putting it right in the show episode thread for this one, and you just go click on it, bang, it'll take you right to it because you really need this. This is like a dream come true for a lot of people. Never thought it would happen. And lightning struck not once but 2 times this year because we're also getting a Micronauts omnibus. It's insane. So get them while you can because chances are extremely good something will happen and they'll never be reprinted again. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
These are fine comics. They're part of the reasons why I and many others, DAP and all of us, are rabid comics fans because we came up reading this stuff and they're just gold. Bill Mantlo, man, got to get it. So cheapgraphicnovels.com will give you the Romnibus for $74.99. That's crazy. Click on the link, just order it. cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Nice. I will be pre-ordering mine this weekend.
Me too. Already did.
Good.
Which made my comment stupid because it's not also this weekend, but I already pre-ordered mine.
Not a. Do you remember Doug or Doe from the old forum, Punk Rock Kid.
Yes.
So I'm just drinking my coffee this morning before I get started with work, and I'm perusing Blue Sky, the social network, and I replied to someone's post, and then next thing I know, I get a big ass in all caps.
What?
It was the weirdest thing. It says, where is it? All caps. Holy fuck. Dap is in the hell thread. And we just started riffing back and forth. And so he still subscribes. He
Wow.
He's got 2 kids. Shit, man, time flies.
It certainly does.
But he's in a good place. He's doing great. We just caught up for a little bit. But yeah, I don't. He's he helps us with the numbers because he's still subscribed to it. But he has fallen. He's fallen behind on his listening, but he's still reading. We were talking about the Human Target maxi series from Tom King, but it was nice to and then and other people started chiming in, and then he was kind enough to pimp the podcast and talk about it. So to everybody that was kind of like around us, but it blew my mind. It was really nice to just kind of hear from a long lost voice, more or less, and just catch up for a few. But I mean, it was, and I'm sure that was similar to what some of the folks may have felt. Some of the old London's Bar Posse at Heroes, because a few of the old heads from the forum made it to Charlotte, and
damn it,
you got to see each other. Yeah, you had folks like Bean and Andy Tom and Chris Marshall and folks like that were there, but it was just, it's been a nice couple of weeks, I guess, in regards to that kind of feeling.
You said Bean, Andy Tom, who else?
Chris Marshall.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I saw a picture with Cam.
Oh.
That dude just never changes. He's never going to. He's like Dorian Gray. I've never seen Cam not look like Cam.
I think he's a Muppet.
Insane.
I think he's a Muppet. That's why. I love him, but yes, either that or he's a vampire.
He could be a vampire.
A vampire
Muppet. Quiet and just kind of yeah.
Yeah, there already is one. So let's talk about the comics. I got a huge list to get through. Going in, I'm going to take it on the chin.
Okay.
Because as we know, the fam loves to prove me wrong.
They do like to point out when things are said and,
yes.
and minds are changed.
Right.
And granted, listen, I mean, I'm someone who really may be hesitant to admit to a change of an opinion, but we do like to see it amongst our friends because it shows growth and the ability to change one's mind.
Right. Well, this issue had me growing in certain spots because it was wonderful. And so a little bit more of the preface. We talked up Last God incessantly for a good stretch.
Yeah.
Much to Jason's dismay, because didn't click with Jason, what with it being fantasy and all that. And then we even had the writer on with us. We spoke with him right here. Yeah,
because we were not only were we excited because we got to talk to him about Last God, but he was also going to be taking over Superman post Bendis, and we were excited for a fresh voice and the hopes to maybe see some of what made us such lifelong Superman fans.
Right. Well, so I was very enthusiastic knowing that he was going to be on Superman, that maybe would wash the stink away. Sorry, cue the groan, I know. But I have to admit, what he did not click with me.
Right.
I'm not saying it's bad. It just didn't, for whatever reasons, it just didn't click. I didn't want to see Warworld again. Been there many times. For what, whatever. I don't want to sully the waters here. But I up until now, his name has been more or less a deterrent with me. And on our Slack, which you can become a part of by being a patron, I draw lines in sand, in case you didn't know. And I said, I'm not trying this Hulk thing because I know that with this guy writing it, I'm not going to like it. And they're just like, because, I jump to extremes. I really do. But I saw the art. And I was like, there is no way that I am not reading this, looking as gorgeous as it does at the hands of Nick Klein. So I said, let me give this a shot. Incredible Hulk, #1. Written by Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Art by Nick Klein. Color art by Matthew Wilson. Yowza, right? Powerhouse team. And it should be on a book featuring the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
The Age of Monsters has begun. So now you have my attention. And it was another revelation. I did not like the previous incarnation of the Hulk.
Right.
It just did not feel right to me. Kate's, I don't think it was a very good fit. And I think Marvel found that out too, because the reboot came very quickly. Right? What did the Kate's run is like what? 10, 12 issues?
Oh, plus I think he also, I don't want to say there were some issues. I think he fell ill, which is why
I didn't know that.
I think Ryan, because he also, I don't think he's writing Thor. I think he had to also drop out of Thor.
That's too bad.
And I think it was Ryan Otley who was finishing writing the Hulk run.
Interesting. But again, that didn't click with me either. So I've been eager to get into the Hulk again, what with him being one of my favorite Marvel characters. And this issue, oh my goodness, did not disappoint. And Dap and I are going to tell you why. Because it begins in Iraq. There's a group of looters, probably students, because they make reference to the university a bunch of times. And they arrive to pillage what they believe to be the tomb of a king. Right? They're like, we got to get all the good stuff out of here because the university is going to take everything that has value. And then, So they're thieves, basically. And they're going through the tomb, and there's headless remains of a giant sitting on a massive throne surrounded by mummies. No doubt those that served the king in life, because that's how it works. And so they encounter this thing before a young lady named Trudy fixates on this skull. And she's like, oh, it looks like a child's skull. And she's taken by something. She's transformed into this massive, toothy creature, and she summarily murders the group. Turns to the throne and proclaims, oh, the time is right. It's all brothers and sisters, and we'll be free now that the green door is closed, and no one will have the strength to stop what's coming. And if you read the Immortal Hulk, you know what the green door is, right? Metaphysical, all the trappings of the Immortal Hulk series. That seems to be still in play, which is very good, because I don't think they should discard that stuff. That stuff has value. It added more layers to a character that I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth, but a lot of times the Hulk is looked at as, Hulk smash, and that's, for a long time, that's what it was. And then Planet Hulk came along and added a couple wrinkles, and now the Immortal Hulk series just deepened the mythology, which is really good. So I don't think they should jettison that stuff. It's very, very cool. So Just like the TV show, Bruce Banner. He's wandering around. You can almost hear the theme music when you see him, right? That freaking disturbingly sad theme music. So he's wandering around Kentucky, and he's tormented by the green guy. More mind games. He's seeing things. Could be hallucinations, could be not. He has missing time. He wakes up, half naked, and well, you know the drill. It's a Hulk book, right? And we're introduced to this young lady named Charlene and her friend Rusty. And Charlie's fixing up a Mustang her grandmother gave her in order to get the hell out of town and find away from her father, an abusive, drunk asshole. But the shithead finds out about his daughter's scheme, and he chases her into the night. Well, meanwhile, this is where gets rolling. Banner seems to have attracted the attention of a good number of people. Tony Stark's FBI men. Why is the FBI working for Tony Stark? That was a question I had. Why would he be in command of the FBI? Or a liaison to the FBI? Right. Because they say they have to report to Mr. Stark, or Mr. Stark said blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where'd that connection come from? I'm not steeped in the current Marvel universe, so that was a little weird to me. So Tony Stark's FBI men are on the scene, and the being that's now wearing that Trudy skin, the acolytes call her the eldest, or call it the eldest. And wouldn't you know it, the eldest has Betty Ross in tow. Imagine that. Betty Ross. So Banner hulks out. Charlene's dad crashes the car, giving his spawn ample opportunity to pound his face in the hamburger, which I thought was cool. The girl has the rage. She definitely has the rage. And her face is kind of scarred from I don't know, some past event. We didn't get any insight into that. But one of the eldest shape-shifting lackeys puts the bite on Charlene's father, thus becoming it's like the Dire Wraith thing, becoming a surrogate asshole dad. And then Trudy, the eldest, she monologues something about the monsters helping out to free the mother of horrors and seek out the fractured son, who we all know as the Hulk, because he is, of course, the key to this whole mess. And that key is now standing before Charlene. And scene. That's the end of it. Just enough teases to keep me interested, or to wet the whistle, I guess I should say. But the thing that really got me was during the monologue, where this eldest is talking about all the monsters. Who do we see?
Yeah.
What's one of the creatures? Yeah. For those who haven't read this issue, we get a glimpse of the Man Thing.
Yeah, I knew that was going to excite you.
Well, come on. I mean, but the thing that really got me was it seems to be, or I think this team seems to be putting together, it's either going to be a monster romp, which is okay by me, or it's opening the door to maybe a new take on magic via the monster realm. In any case, if you tease me with Marvel Monsters, I'm totally in. Right? I don't know how you feel, but way, way, way back, it's the Marvel Monsters that, again, pulled me into that whole universe.
You definitely, I mean, not just me, but I mean, just about anybody, but you definitely love the Marvel Monsters more than I do. I appreciate them, and I like reading some of the stories that involve the Marvel Monsters, but rarely is that going to move me to make a purchase. There are other factors that need to be involved.
I'm easy.
Well,
Where it comes to monsters,
you're not, because I mean, we just got done talking about PKJ's earlier works that you weren't a fan of, so you're not that easy.
Well, no, but maybe not. But if the
But-
carrot on the end of the stick is the Marvel monsters, like I plowed through Monsters Unleashed just because.
Sure.
Like a lot of it was fluffy, right? But for the most part, I don't need much more than seeing Fin Fang Foom throwing down. You know, that's, to me, that's prime time. Give me that. Give me more of that. Unless it's Next Wave.
The Fin Fang Foom. The page of Vince Loves not only has Man Thing, it's also got Moleman's Moloids, and I'm gonna guess a Spirit of Vengeance.
Oh, sure. It does.
Why else would a motorcycle be on fire?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so there's something on his page for everybody, even Moleman fans, both of you. But you have the when I think about my favorite Hulk runs, it's Bill Mantlo, it's the bulk of Peter David stuff, especially the Pantheon. I like Smart Hulk, The Future Imperfect, things like that. The Gerber stuff I enjoyed and I read because we were doing bullpen bulletins and I wanted to be aware of it. But that didn't speak to me the same way it would speak to you. Of course, it's also, you know, Gerber, so how would it not speak to anybody but you? But there's for me, even though yes, he physically and can act like a monster, for some reason it's weird. It really doesn't click to me that Hulk is a monster. Of course he is, but it's just one of those things where I guess I'm too close. I can't see it. It's weird to kind of explain that. But after Ewing and the body horror, and it's weird to kind of come back to that so soon. But again, the Kate stuff, and before I forget, I said illness. I was probably misspeaking on that. It's like personal stuff. It's just life, is what he said. But he
whatever it is.
He left Hulk with 10. Otley finished up with issue 14. So Otley wrote 11 through 14 based on Kate's notes. The Thor stuff, Kate's stopped with 28, and Torrin Gronbeck, who writes a lot of the Thor spin-off stuff, they've been filling in, so they've taken over Thor. So Cates is still in talks with Marvel, but he hasn't doing anything right now. But for whatever reason, the previous Hulk run ended early, and we're kind of, because I mean we have the references to the Green Door again.
Yep.
So if you dug Immortal Hulk, then you know you'll probably dig this as well. Yes, of course, because of the art. But I am curious to see how Johnson takes to this character and does something with it, because he's still writing Action Comics over at DC. I didn't check out any of the Alien stuff. Did you try that at all?
No.
Okay. But I think our boy Brian may have dug it. I got to go through the Slack and see if he's mentioned it recently. But I read the preview for the Hulk, and then when I went and picked up yesterday's books, I picked up the Jim Chung variant cover of the first issue to have it, because it did feel like something special. I don't know if I'm going to. I'll probably keep the first few issues on my pull list, just to kind of see where it goes. But I did dig it. I don't know where it's been one issue, so I can't right now. I'm not going to say where it's going to land on my favorite Hulk runs. But I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, Nick Klein is just going all out on these pages, especially like that one page where Hulk is like hulking over the FBI agent, just saying, "Leave me alone."
He's massive.
He's massive. I was just gonna say that he's huge with his little head. He's got the long hair. I think I dug what Klein was doing on Thor when he and Donnie worked on that, but it almost, parts of this doesn't kind of, it almost there are pages that remind me that look like Nick Klein, but then there's some other panels where I'm just like, it felt like he was changing his style up a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. It was just it. I've seen Nick Klein's work, and I could pretty much automatically tell that Klein illustrated this, but there were some things here and there that that it fit. It works for the story. It just didn't look like Klein, but it still. It didn't detract or anything. I am right now, as far as the first issue goes, there seems, I don't know if we needed more pages, because there's a lot going on. We've got the eldest, we've got the FBI, we've got a runaway, we've got Bruce just wanting to be left alone, of course. There's a little bit. It almost feels like Johnson just threw everything that he had in his outline on these pages in this first issue, and we'll be able to follow the threads as the book continues. But it kind of deserves a second read through, just because there is so much going on, and there's so much. The art is just. There are some pages where the transformations just completely had me pause, and I almost lost where I was, because I'm just fixated on these images.
Yeah, he annihilates it. He really does.
He does.
If the panel borders were white and didn't bleed off the page, you would mistake this for a Bronze Age book. Around the Marvel magazine era, Monsters Unleashed and stuff, like Klein is at that caliber right now.
Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous. It's just amazing to look at. That one panel where Trudy's got her arms out and there's the thing behind her with the open mouth, like, holy shit, where did this come from? Like, this is just impeccable. I love every page of it. But go. You go.
No, I want to find out what the hell's going on with this family, because obviously, her face is scarred. Dad's face is scarred. That wasn't just from her pummeling him.
She did beat the shit out of him, though.
She did. But I mean, look at his face. It's like, I mean, he's got like open wounds, and it's just that. Yeah, I mean, the fat lip maybe, and her fists are obviously bruised because she was beaten on him. But I don't know about those gashes in his forehead and the lesions around his eyes.
You can't really tell, but when he's in because of the way he's lit, but when
he's wearing the hat.
When he's in the recliner, you can't. There's not really any scars on his face. Doesn't appear to be.
True.
Anyway.
You're right. Yeah, he comes out to when he's. It was the cap that was throwing me off. I was thinking that was covering things, but you can kind of see his face when he's in the house and walking through the door.
Maybe she had a ring on or something. She gouged his face out with the ring. But
are the burns from him? Like, did she? I mean, obviously she wants to get out of the house, so I'm sure Dad abused her. But I mean, I don't know. So I mean,
well, it's entirely fitting that she's got rage.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And of course that's going to attract her to
sure
the Hulk. But and then when and I don't know, because then when his body's possessed, it's the wounds are pretty much gone. So yeah, I don't. It's just I've got questions, and
right.
I'm going to need more than just this one issue to answer them. Obviously,
I think it would be really cool if she becomes like a Rick Jones type character.
I think that's where they're going with it, because
yeah.
she's just. He'll protect her, or at least look out for her, or he'll try to keep her away, or say don't hang around me. But of course, he's gonna just keep making sure she's safe. But
yeah, Hulk always needs a strong supporting cast, because Hulk as Hulk, it's fun, but it becomes one note after a while. Mm-hmm. I think that they realized that very early in the Hulk run, where he needs to have interesting people around him, or at least as interesting as him. And we got that. Thunderbolt Ross, right? Doc Samson, Betty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were fully realized characters and interesting in their own right. And I think that's why the book Jarella, like, that was great. And then we went to Planet Hulk. We got a ton of very interesting characters, as well as the Hulk. So I think good old Bruce needs a posse in order to be really creatively successful, right? And I'm guessing that this what this is going to be. One of my fondest memories is back in the Bronze Age when Marvel did the Legion of Monsters. Like, that set my freaking world on fire. It was a magazine, then it was in the 4-color comics, and it was like just all of these, creatures of the night together. That's cool. Like, we need, like Justice League Dark is cool, but I need a team of just monsters. That would be awesome. And I hope that's where we're getting here. It may become even on either side. I don't really care what side it's on. If you got a squad of villains that are all monsters, that's cool too. And again, I'll say it. This feels very Dire Wraithy to me. Where doesn't it though?
Yeah, you're right.
Because let's wear the skin of this thing. It's like you don't know who's your friend anymore because you have these creatures that could take the form of your loved ones or your friends, and they may not be inside. So that's really neat. Where the Dire Wraiths, stuck you in the forehead with that tendril thing, these seem to be just able to do it on a whim or by eating you or something. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. As a first issue, it's a hell of a hook. It really is.
I think I'm going to say that Charlene's friend is wearing an Iron Maiden shirt.
Yeah. Yep. Rusty. Good old Rusty.
Good old Rusty.
Yep.
Of course, his name's Rusty's in Kentucky.
Well, she ran to the hills, so. Thank you. I had a train of thought. Oh, I too bought this in single issues, and I'm just going to keep doing it. I'll stick with this as long as the monster shtick is going to be a central part of this. I'm not going anywhere. As long as Nick Klein doesn't go anywhere. And hell, even if he does, I'll probably if it's as good as this first issue, I'll stick with it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Who am I kidding?
Yeah,
if I make it 10 into it, I'm not going to stop because then I'm like, well, I can't stop because then
stop now.
Yeah, I need to run.
You're right. It could go to 75 issues, but fuck it, I got the first 10. I can't stop.
Oh, can you imagine if this goes 75 issues?
That would be something.
That'd be awesome.
And I did. I read the preview pages from the prologue that was
me too.
Recent Hulk annual that was illustrated by Travel Foreman, and it's just the eldest and her crew, but obviously it picks up from the main story, which I wasn't really feeling, but I
didn't like it either.
I just so I don't know. So when this gets collected into the Phillip Kennedy Johnson Hulk omnibus, I don't know if they'll just have those handful of pages or if we'll have to have the whole annual to make it make sense. But it's I think if there's one thing that I think Johnson knows how to do, and whether or not that pans out or he does it well, your mileage may vary, but he definitely seems to have a plan. Nothing is done haphazardly. He doesn't just wing it and just feel like, we'll see where the story takes me. He knows where things are going, and he'll start the story. You'll get a little tease somewhere before the main story, the main ongoing begins. But he's got he knows exactly where the story's going.
Well, look at what he did for Last God.
Right.
They didn't pull that source book, guidebook, whatever it was thing out of their asses. There's no way that they could throw that together so quickly. He had all that stuff planned out before, or the majority of it, and maybe they fleshed it out a little bit more for the guidebook. But everything was pretty much thought out going in. And I hope that that's where this is going too. That he's got a roadmap, and he knows where he's going to take us, more or less. Like, I'm open to improvisation. Like, any great writer will tell you that, they have their plan and something will come along that alters the plan in a more creative or better way than they had originally mapped it out, and they go with it. That's great. You got to be resilient when you're a writer, I think. and always be open to inspiration from wherever it comes. Just because you have it planned out doesn't mean you got to stick to it, right? Mm-hmm. And I hope, I'm just optimistic about this. I really am. That there's a Hulk book again that is worth reading. It's very much worth it.
I think it is. Like there is. I think it's, and even if I'm looking forward to what happens after the first arc, because if for whatever reason I don't stick with it, I want to. I almost want you to tease me that I should continue to read it because you're going to be talking about future issues and it's going to sound too good to pass up.
Right. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it. And yes, our buddies can get me again because I reneged. I went back on my word, and it's true. I think this first issue is pretty perfect. Like even the title spread. Oh my God, that image is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's and the green with the purple, like shut up, and it's all distressed and shit. It's just great. Yeah, it's great. We solicited opinions on this issue from our wonderful Slack family, and they delivered.
Oh, good.
They really did. Well, we got Brian C. Asks, is this opening up the door for a dark magic corner of Marvel, or is it just the monster corner? One page really showcased this, and we don't know, but we can hope, right? Either or would be great, as far as I'm concerned. Let's see what else we have here. We have Raj said, it was a great first issue. Nick Klein, as usual, kills it on every page. Transformation is disgusting, and I loved it. True dat. As a PKJ fan, this was pretty great, and I'm in for what he has in store for Banner. Chris Chavez says, hearing this is going the way of a green-skinned Hellboy, that would not be a bad thing. Jeff Carter, really like that he is poking around the dark corners of the Marvel Universe, including real-world myths and legends. There are so many directions he could go with this. And he of both Long Dong and Wind, Mr. Caleb, says, this feels much more in line with what I wanted following Immortal. I'll never begrudge a creator for shooting their shot, but the Kate's Otley mesh didn't fit. Kirby left us a genetic map for what a good Hulk story should be. A monster punching up against an incalculable force with the finesse of a hurricane. This feels right, and it fits in tonally, could be tonally, it is tonally, with what Percy is doing in Ghost Rider, which has been excellent. There's a sprinkling of Peter David in there too. PKJ and Klein may not take the mythos through the Dante filter as Ewing did, but it's getting back on track with the psychological horror that the monster mythos is ripe for. There you go. And he loves the Mole Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Who doesn't love the frickin' Mole Man?
I probably think of a couple of people.
Well, they're silly.
Exactly, they're silly.
Yeah. But it was great. So PKJ, I am sorry. But I won't read the stuff. But I'm sorry for just blanketing, not touching your stuff anymore. Because obviously, I will. And I did. And I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
Cool beans.
Very nice.
Yeah. What else do we have? I mean, I got tons of stuff. If you want to hear me.
I have tons of stuff. I've read the second issue of Titans by Tom Taylor and Nicola Scott with Annette Kwok on colors. What's weird and totally not related to the story at all, but what for some reason with some faces in this issue, and I don't know why it really didn't click before. And obviously, it's not the same style, but some of the faces remind me of Rick Veitch. It's weird. It's I don't know if it's like the nose and the jaw, or but there's areas of faces on some of the characters that I see I see a Rick Veitch face.
So it looks phenomenal.
It's still, I mean, some of it does look what you and I would think was what we talked about with the first issue, some of it being maybe a little stiff. But I mean, her line work is amazing. Her figure work is fantastic. It's just whether or not it works with a sequential, action-oriented superhero book is up to the reader to decide. But especially the last page with where was it? It was yeah, with Dick and Donna, and there was just this. Yeah, I see those noses, I see those eyes, and I was like, this looks like maybe not necessarily like, Army at Love, but there's something here that just reminds me of. I kind of don't trust these eyes, these faces. There's something dark and sinister behind them. But this issue picks up where the last one left off with the Titans standing over the dead body of the Flash. Although first we get a little bit of a flashback where the Titans are about to attack Brother Blood's headquarters. It's an old story because it's Robin. It's Dick Grayson as Robin, and in an outfit where he's wearing long pants. So again, I have no idea what's going on post New 52, Flash, or anything like that. Everything, nobody's costumes. Like we don't know what era anything happened in. Anyway, and there are days where I'm fine with that, but then there are other times where the continuity nerd and canon purist wants to follow the lines where everything goes. But this version of the Titans that's breaking down the door is Robin, is Speedy, is Kid Flash, Aqualad, Cyborg, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Wonder Girl in her George Perez era New Teen Titans #1 outfit. So this is not a lineup that I've ever seen previously. So it exists in this universe, in this book anyway. But they break into the place, and the Justice League has already made quick work of Brother Blood and the cult followers. And it's Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Batman with the yellow in the oval on the chest. And the Titans kind of leave the place simply dejected because the Justice League kind of took their nemesis. And the kids are wondering, are they allowed to do that? Can they do that? And but they did. So these teens are just having a little chit chat talking about how, a person's mortal enemy should be off limits. And Donna asks if Wonder Girl says, "Do you think when our time comes, the Titans will be as good as the Justice League?" And Robin says, "No." He says, "We'll be better, Wally. I know it." And that's when we cut to now to see Titans Tower in Bloodhaven, to a dead Flash on the floor. And Starfire says that someone has to call Linda, let her know. So Nightwing says, "I'll do it." And he comes back because almost as soon as he leaves the room, and Starfire says, "Well, that was a short call." And he says, "Yeah, because Linda didn't answer." He did. And Wally comes zooming in, saying that he's sorry he's late, and then looks down on the floor and sees a dead body. And Cyborg, they go to the med bay. Cyborg has scanned it for any extra dimensional signs. This Wally Wood is from our world, but Dick's theory is that it's actually Wally from the future. with the limited time you had, you traveled back to get us to solve your murder before it happened. So it's they're working around kind of one of those stories. While they're trying to figure this out, Oracle calls and says that a massive blast has taken out a city-sized patch of Borneo, and so I still call him Changeling, but Beast Boy's like, listen, we got to go because there are countless species that exist only in the Borneo rainforest. So we got to bounce. And Wally's like, well, all right, I can beat feet over there. But Dick's like, no, you and I, Nightwing and Flash, are going to stay put because they're going to they're going to get to the bottom of whatever this mystery is. And Wally's like, wait, I'm not going to stand by unless you think you can stop me. And then he pauses. He says, wait, can you stop me? And Dick's like, if I need to. And Cyborg's asking him, so you have contingencies on your friends, for your friends, just like Batman does. And Nightwing says, listen, in a team with this level of power, it would be irresponsible not to have contingencies in place. But unlike Batman, I won't hide that from any of you. I know your strengths and weaknesses, which is why I know exactly a forest fire is the kind of chaotic environment where someone can get close to the Flash. And like I said, I detected wood smoke and ash in the victim's suit. So he's just eliminating all possibility and any avenues where the dead Flash might actually happen. Dick's just trying to get it all off the board. So the rest of the
it doesn't make for strong friendships, I guess, but if you're in his position and taking into account whom he learned from, it does make sense to have files on your buddies. Like it's not better to be prepared than not. Right.
It would be like it would be irresponsible. It'd be silly if Cyborg or Changeling or Raven or Starfire just decided to just go buck wild and start tearing buildings down. And here's somebody who was your teammate and you knew them, but you didn't think to know. Like when they spar, when they're in the danger room, like you don't think that you would have the ability to take down your friend. Like you can't counter their moves. Like I would think that would just make sense. And when you're younger, when you're a teen, when 14, 15, 16 years old, you may not be thinking like that about your friends, but these are much older characters.
It should be second nature to Dick to take mental notes. But what do you do if Donna goes haywire? How do you counter that? It's like Wonder Woman going off the freaking rails. How do you deal with that? Right.
But he's going to have to think, like dominoes. He's going to this person is going to like ricocheting a bottle cap off a bunch of walls before it lands into the garbage. He's just going to have to he's going to have to plan it out regardless of who may turn or who may attack. And it Taylor explained it well enough, so I appreciate that. And he but Dick says that Donna is going to lead this mission, and at first it seemed like she was hesitant, but she does. So the team heads to Borneo, and I mean there's a massive gaping fiery hole in the middle of the rainforest, and there's a river a few miles away. So Raven and Cyborg head there. Gar changes into an ape so he can appear friendly to the other animals down there, and he's trying to calm them and get them out of danger. So Raven and Cyborg, using their ability to teleport and Cyborg's tech, they basically kind of transport the river water down to over the flames, over the forest fire, and so they drench the fire. say what they can of the forest. There's there were some people. There was an illegal tree clearing operation that Starfire found, and they're not responsible. But Gar, of course, starts to getting ready to attack them. Cyborg puts a stop to that, but Cyborg, using his forensic tech, the energy signature that caused the destruction is from Tamra. It's
now normally I would jump to conclusions and say, well, it's got to be Blackfire then,
right.
but the fact that the first issue ends making you think that it's going to be this huge battle with Brother Blood, and within the first 3 pages he's already beaten. Like, Taylor's not playing to expectations in this book.
And the Brother Blood at the beginning of this issue, we get to the end of the issue, but after they leave the rainforest, get back home, Donna and Corey are having a little heart-to-heart because Donna wants to make sure that Corey's okay, since Dick Nightwing had her lead the team, and Starfire's finally cool with it. She's like, listen, it's all we've done so far is react to disasters. We have a murder of a friend to solve, and so we don't have time for like any petty internal squabbles, anything like that. You came up with a strategy to put out the fire in minutes, so there's no reason why you wouldn't be a competent leader. I'll follow you wherever. It absolutely makes sense. And while Cyborg is kind of just opening up boxes and chatting with Gar and Raven, the TV's on, and it's a talk show, and Brother Blood is a guest, and so the host calls out Brother Blood. He says, "Oh, we're not using that name anymore." And the host is asking why not. He says, "I mean, partly because it's icky, but mostly because we're looking forward now, not back. We are now the Church of Eternity." And and the host is like, "So you're Brother Eternity?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess it lacks, that alliteration, but it's far more fitting." And then he asks, "How has such a young man risen to be the leader of a church?" And Blood says, Eternity says, "I'm not all that young. I just have a very good skincare regimen." So I'm not sure if this is actually the same Brother Blood that the Justice League took down at the beginning of this issue, or if it's the same Brother Blood that the Titans have taken on in the past. But he's talking about basically doing things better for the planet and for people. And yes, he realizes that religions have been corrupted by money. But the world is ending, yet we don't have to end with it. And there are other habitable planets out there, because obviously with aliens living amongst us, like Superman, Starfire, etc., we don't have to stay on Earth. And he's asked, so you're asking your followers to finance all this. How do you respond to those who say this is who see this as a shameless cash grab? And he basically just replies with, most religions are shameless cash grabs. So, he's got a point there. But while most sell the promise of salvation after death, we're offering something for the living. So he's saying all the right things. And he says, we're crowdfunding the continuation of the human race. We believe that will attract quite a crowd. And the host says, but in the past, the Church of Blood has had some run-ins with superheroes. And again, Eternity's like, listen, we're not trying to sanitize our history. The Church of Blood has been monstrous, and great heroes like the Titans have had to stand against us. But I'm pleased to announce that a Titan has chosen to join our ranks, and out comes Garth. a prince of the seas, but most of you know him as Tempest. And then you just see Gar saying, what the actual hell? And that's the end of the issue. But it's so. Did Blood speak to Garth before the first issue when he kind of turned down Dick and Donna? Was this after the fact? So there's still. Well, we might see how some things will play out. But whereas the first issue was. This issue it continued the story, but it didn't have the the action or the excitement of the first issue. It's a fine issue because listen, they're still moving in. There's a little tease with the mystery of Wally. There's yet another disaster. We're going to find out more, I guess, about Brother Blood and what he's up to. So it continued. It's another chapter in this tale. But after I was as hyped as I was, or excited to see where we were going after the first issue, I didn't feel like I got it here. But maybe it'll be like maybe the reverse of the Star Trek movies. Maybe every other issue will be tickled. Will be one that tickles me. But it was a it's fine. I'm going to need more. I just, when I got to the end of the issue, this is the kind of issue where it reminded me, I read this and I thought about a lot of the people who would complain about Bendis' Avengers issues where they're kind of just sitting around and talking. And again, if that's meant to still tell the story however you want to tell it, but again, after the first issue, taking on a kaiju and facing off against Peacemaker, and this was just they were able to take care of the forest fire in a matter of a couple of pages, but I don't know if it just didn't feel cohesive to me. I don't know. It's weird. Or maybe I'm just too strict or not as forgiving when it comes to the Titans. But it's just I wanted to enjoy this issue a lot more than I did, especially after the first issue. If that makes sense.
I think it's pretty damn inventive. Like, I don't have the loyalty to the Titans that you do.
Sure,
but. I mean, coming on, the first issue introduced the murder of a Titan, not only a Titan, but Wally. And then he's not playing to expectations. You would think that the death of a major player like Wally would be front and center, but it's not. It's like, oh yeah, we'll get to that. Yep. But, and then again, with the whole Brother Blood thing, it's like, oh, we're all amped up. We're going to take out Brother Blood. And it's like, Justice League already got him. You know what I mean? He's pulling the rug out from under you. I think that's ballsy. I think it's inventive. I think it's cool. It's fun. And I don't know about you, but if I was hanging around the family room and Corey had shorts on and a belly shirt, I'd need a pillow from her lap. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And Donna, shut up. But anyway, I see what you're saying about the Veitch faces because that profile of Superman is dead on Veitch. It looks just like the way
panel with Raven.
The way he styles, especially the jawline and the brow. It's I'm not crazy. That's great. All right, thank you. Well, I mean, if you showed this to someone who wasn't as experienced with Veitch's artwork, because it's not completely Veitch, but there's a little air of Veitch to it, which is not a bad thing. I think this issue looks great. I think it looks better than the first issue. I think maybe the colorist is getting more comfortable working with Nicola in this setting. There are some panels that absolutely pop. There's also a lot of unmasked faces in this issue, so maybe that might be throwing me too. But I just there were pages like when they're unpacking. It's mellow and low key, and right. That's hard to do.
It is. It is.
Very hard to do.
It's. I mean, so it is. I'm not poo-pooing the book. I'm not saying I'm done. This is it. I gave it 2 issues, but it was just it. After reading the first one, I didn't know, and that's on me. Then I thought we were kind of going. We were going to continue that level, and Taylor's just kind of giving you a second to maybe catch your breath. Maybe it's too early to catch your breath after 1 issue, but this is the way he's telling this story. And I also don't want to. It's also the second issue, so I don't want to. I'm not trying to judge an entire arc based on not even 40 pages. So I'll be here for the 3rd issue, and we'll see where it's going. But yeah, like you said, I've got the history, and I just they're.
You're kind of unforgiving a lot when it comes to the Titans. It's okay. You love them. I mean, we get it. No, it's plain as day. You have a lot of a love for this group, and when it strays from what you consider the script, it doesn't go down all that well. But yeah, let's just wait till this storyline's over, and then you'll see.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
I think Scott is really adept at expressive eyes.
Yes.
Like even when Gar's the Hawk, that's crazy that they could get that kind of expression out of the eyes of a hawk. It's nuts.
I really like the way she draws Gar. I like the mutton chops. I like I like. Again, he's still changeling to me, but I like the look here.
Yeah, it's really well done. And like I said, having a bunch of characters out of costume. I mean, the costume is a stylistic thing that everybody can glom onto. But when you just have characters chilling in a room, drinking coffee, and just kicking back, like that's in order to make it engaging and make it interesting, it's really not that easy. Anybody can do, can fall back on the speed lines of a running Flash or the cape flourish of a Superman, but when you got to do characters just laying on a couch having fun, just chilling, like that's not easy. It's a challenge.
She's good with that. So
yeah, this is surprisingly good.
Good.
Yeah. Cool beans again with the cool beans.
Cool beans for days.
We may have a Marvel-O-Rama.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I read, well, this is a Marvel book by way of Viz, I believe.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read this. This has been in the can for a long time. I didn't read it when it first came out, but I rectified that oversight because I do like Tsutomu Nihei because Biomega is amazing. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's incredible. And the one thing, the stamp of Nihei is world building. Extremely adept at creating these environments, believable, immersive, fully fleshed out environments. And that's what you get here with Wolverine SNIKT.
Was this originally a weekly serial?
I don't know if it was weekly, but I think it was a 5-part miniseries published. Okay. I read the collected edition, so right. I don't know. But written and illustrated by Tsutomu Nihei of Blame and Biomega. Color art by Guru Effects. And therein lies the problem. Because they even say it in there are extensive notes. There's Dragata does the intro to this thing, and there's an art gallery in the back with some text. And right in the introduction to the art gallery, which is Nihei's black and white illustrations, right? It says, Wolverine SNIKT was written and drawn by Tsutomu Nihei, a manga artist known for his impressive and foreboding work in black and white. I have to read that again. Biomega is in black and white. And I think Nihei excels in the form. He does not need color. And that's the problem with this book. I don't know if it was before or after the fact, because I haven't read the original. But the color, it is just plain tits on a bull in this book. It's unnecessary. I'm not saying it's bad. It's certainly accomplished. I mean, it's Guru effects. What is here is nicely done, but I think it's unnecessary. It's so obtrusive. It just does not work. A lot of the Nihei's strengths come from negative space, and all of the negative space in this book is slathered with color. And not only color, but color with filters, effects filters. I just think it detracted immensely from the amazing artwork in this book. Did it kill the book for me? Almost. But almost, yeah. The saving grace of this thing is the world building and the art. Because right from the cover is very reminiscent of the work of Johan Nohr. And you don't know who he is, but I'll tell you. The graphic designer of Merkborg. It's an RPG that is known for its atypical presentation. Like, you've seen RPG books, right? It's mostly walls of text with little spot illustrations or a full page illustration here or there, right? In Merkborg, the design is inseparable from the information. It's each spread is incredibly well designed, and the strengths of the design mirror the strengths of the typography. So they work well in tandem, and the information presented is not D&D. There are not reams and reams of text. It's very light rules. So they can get away with having a lot of visual real estate to play around with. So when I looked at the cover of this, I'm like, oh, damn. It looked a lot like Merkborg, but the sci-fi iteration of Merkborg. It's called Cyborg, pun intended. But the point I'm trying to make is that the world building in SNIKT is very much in line with the kind of stuff you encounter in RPGs. Like, everything is explained in this book. He just doesn't say, like, I'll get to it, but if somebody gets possessed by something, the reasoning and almost the stats, like almost down to the stats of what's happening is told to you. So it's kind of cool. Like, it's very extensive world building. The plot's not that world breaking or original. I mean, there's a young lady named Fusa who needs help in the future eradicating an invasion. And she pulls Wolverine out of the past and takes him to the future to help destroy these creatures. Why? Well, it's the year 2058, and there's these things called mandates that have infested the place. And there's a main mandate called the progenitor, of course. What else are you going to call it? Or the primogenitor. What else are you going to call it? And this thing can make more mandates. And if a mandate gets close to a human, it can inject the human with... Get this. It injects the human with micronucleate parasites. Like, do we need to know that? No. But it's so fully fleshed out that Nihei thinks that's crucial to the story that they're telling. And it probably is, right? Because there's a backstory to this thing. The mandate came from a mutated flesh-eating bacteria, which was originally designed to eliminate all the toxic crap that's destroying the planet, right? And the mandate has the essence of the mandate is concentrated in this orb in its midsection called the orb core, which the orb core was originally designed as a safe way for people to transport this bacteria as they were working on it. Because should the thing get out, it's untested, it would ravage the planet. So they had it in this core. And then shit went south, as expected. And the first mandate, the primogenitor, can create more mandates at will. And only the primogenitor can make more mandates. So here's the deal. You have to destroy the orb core to take out the mandate. If you just chop its head off or cut its arms off or whatever, it regenerates. So there are major pains in the ass, right? And they can adapt their bodies to the environment. If they need to fly, they sprout wings. If they need to swim, they sprout fins. Like, it's insane. So he's really put in the work and really thought this thing out. But, so you're thinking, why Wolverine? What the hell is Wolverine crucial to this scenario? Because there is a human safe house in the future into which the mandates cannot break. They just can't do it. The walls are made of something that they can't break through. Do you know what the walls are made out of?
Could it be adamantium?
Yes, it's adamantium. That's right. So, of course, Wolverine has adamantium claws. So one would think that if the mandates can't break through our safe house because it's made of this stuff, and the problem is the beings of the future can't make more adamantium. They forgot the technology. The human organism has not evolved. They've devolved. Like the stuff that they knew in the past, they've either discarded it or forgotten it or lost the technology, or the hard drives went kablooey, so they don't know how to make adamantium. And there's this character running around called the Colonel, and he has adamantium armor, and he has this arm cannon that fires adamantium bullets, and he's running low on ammunition.
Yep.
Wouldn't you know it? So, I mean, it's kind of contrived and a bit rote, but I think it's cool. And the reason why is because I get the feeling that Nihei is completely convinced that this was a great story. I don't know if that sounds derogatory or I'm demeaning the work, but going in, I'm guessing that they were energized for this, because you could tell by the art, right? The creatures are disgusting and really cool and, biomechanical and all that stuff. It's not too far removed from Biomega. In fact, if you told me that this was taking place in the same creative bubble that Biomega was created in, I would believe you. Because, except for the color. But visually, it looks a lot like Biomega. And so Wolverine comes to the future. She pulls him to the future. She has this mutant power where she can, if she thinks about getting something, she could just do it. So she not only travels across time, she travels across space, and she touches Wolverine's hand in his time, and whoosh, they're sucked into the future. That's a big problem for Logan, because this Fusa girl is the only one who could do it. So if she dies in the future, Wolverine's shit out of luck. He's not going back to his own time. Like, that's a big problem. So she tries to convince him to help, and Wolverine's basically like, well, what choice do I have? I have to. Because if I don't, something happens to you, I'm not getting back to my time. So I guess I got to do this. Well, and it's Logan too. He's, say what you will about him. He does have a warrior's code, right? If something is amiss, he'll deal with it. And so the Chewy center is that Wolverine has to take out the primogenitor in order to save the future. That's the entire story. I'm not downplaying it, because the joy in this book, I think, at least for me, was just the art. The art's pretty breathtaking, and I kind of wish I could see it without the color. Because, again, I think the colors, it's just very distracting. Like the Colonel has a texture all over him, and I get it. He's supposed to look like distressed metal and pitted and pockmarked, and okay, but it's just, for me, the chroma, the color is taking away from the line work. And are you familiar with Nihei?
Not all that much.
Right, not an elegant draftsman. In fact, a lot of the line work looks like he's trying to beat the clock. But to me, that's my lifeblood. Like this, the scratchiness and the expressiveness of the line. Like, there are some marks that look like he's just digging right into the illustration board. Like that, I love that. And I don't want to say very little finesse, but he's confident enough to just lay it down and not worry that every line is entirely perfect. Again, the go-to is P. Craig Russell. That's not what this is. Like, every P. Craig Russell line is a symphony. Every Nihei mark is a septic tank, which is good. I love that. I love it when it's you got to clean out the gunk from underneath your fingernails, right? And it's just, you could smell the oil and the grease and all of the stench of this human safe house. And it's just, I think it's wonderful to look at. It really is. But again, if the story was a pool, it would be maybe 1.5 feet deep at best, right? It's not revolutionary in any way other than the visuals. But I kind of love this book. Again, minus the color.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't, again, I didn't do enough research into it to learn whether it was originally presented in color. Knowing Marvel, it probably was. Because why would anybody buy a black and white book? That's preposterous.
Well, when I get the Spider-Man, was it Fake Red, the upcoming manga, I think that's black and white.
Right. But is that to showcase the red? Because it's right in the title, right? I don't know. Marvel has published some black and white stuff. Mm-hmm. But maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking if this was originally done with color, that Nihei had to agree to it. But looking at the line work, he did not make any allowances for the color.
Right.
Like the line work looks to me exactly like more. There's some of the backgrounds are a little vacant, like they're just color in some spots. So he may have done that intentionally, because there's a lot of line work in Blame and by Omega. Like, it's festooned with line and mark.
And I mean, and you look at Wolverine, you look at Logan, you look at the other characters, and there's no flesh color on their faces.
No, he's pale. He's frickin' pale. Yes.
So I mean, it's one. So yeah, I don't. But I mean, the X on his shoulder on the jacket is in gold, but yeah, but nobody's, and even the twins over here with their light blue faces. But I mean, for the most part, and maybe that's what, because I started flipping through it and I got up to about the third part, but I was telling you before we started tonight, it didn't grab me, so I stopped it so I could read something else that I would hopefully enjoy a bit more. But there are some panels, some pages look pretty cool, but I I don't know if it was the story. I don't know if it definitely wasn't the art. Maybe the color was also kind of just throwing things off. It
Yeah,
made
it's
things
really
look a little muddy at times.
It's jarring, yeah, and very digital. But
Yeah.
I mean, all the other bases are covered. I think the story is good enough. The creature design and the tech are just impeccable. Like that's what Nihei is, one of the trademarks of Nihei. Even Wolverine, I think it's a neat design for Wolverine. It's very spare, wide-eyed. But I'm guessing that one could explain away the fact that there's not a whole lot of pigment in their skin, and the fact that they live underground in a store, in a safe house. So that could be the reason.
Doesn't explain Logan, but yeah.
No, it doesn't. But it's true. Maybe they have shitty fluorescent lighting.
Lighting, there you go.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. You didn't get to it because you tapped out. There's a speedway, I don't know, a tubeway chase where they're on this little ship and they're speeding through these tunnels, and this giant thing is chasing them, and the ship blows up, and luckily they had speeder bikes on board. So everybody's on a speeder bike, and it's like really kinetic and high energy, and they're moving all over the place, and there's trails of smoke coming from the bikes. Like, it's really cinematic and really well done. But it's a shame that they had to sully this thing with color. I think it's still worth buying and reading, with the one caveat that the color doesn't do the art any favors.
Oh, and he gets all meta on the last page.
Yes, he does. There's a Jim Morrison reference on the last page, which is cool. But the Wolverine has to kill the primogenitor, right? As we said. And I won't reveal too much of it, because in case you want to read it, there are things going into the battle that are important, and I don't want to be spoiled. But at one point, Wolverine's arm is entirely stripped of flesh, right down to the bone. And we've seen that before, Civil War, like a bunch of stuff. But in order to use his claw on the stripped arm, he has to hold it with his good arm, because it's just bone. There's no muscle. So he holds his hand, skeletal hand, to keep it from coming apart with his good hand. Like, that's really cool. Imagine the pain he's in. You get your flesh stripped, and not only flesh, but muscle and everything else stripped right down to the bone. Like, you're in some freaking pain, regardless of a healing factor or not. And he grabs that bony hand, and he's shoving the blade into something, holding it with his other hand. That's really neat. I think that's cool. That for me was like, God damn, that's cool. That's the reason. Thank you. That's the payoff for the color, as far as I'm concerned. Like that, there are scenes that stick with you, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of them.
It's I'd be curious to know, anybody who does read this gets to that last page and isn't a Doors fan, thinks that he's referring to Grant.
Yeah, maybe. Because I don't see many. Well, that's not entirely true. Vinyl made a resurgence, so maybe. But no, I don't see a lot of the current crop of kids knowing where that quote came from. But that's cool. They could Google it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a quote. You should Google it. So yeah. You'll know right there.
Maybe you'll get into the Doors and your life will be better. I know you're not a fan, but it's okay. You don't have to be.
I know I don't have to be.
We all have our Dave Matthews Bands.
Right? So does that be actual Dave Matthews? But that's
well, right. Well, this book, and the art gallery in the end, that's just plain black and white. It's a tease. It really is, because you just, well, speaking only for myself, I looked at it and I'm thinking, man, why can't this book all be like this? Yeah. Why can't every page just look? It's phenomenal.
But at least you get some of the black and white of the scene you were explaining earlier with the flesh and not being there. And
it's a cool little thing, and it was Viz. So it
was issues because it is issue 1 cover art, issue 2. I remember these covers. Shit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost entirely certain that it was originally published with the color. But look at that line work on the back cover. Like, hot damn, give me all of that. You don't. It doesn't need the crutch of color. So yes, it was a joint effort between Viz Media and Marvel.
It's a Corey Pettit-O-Rama because he lettered the Incredible Hulk and he lettered this.
Can we?
Wait, did he? Hold on. Did he letter the issue I'm about to? Fuck no. Steve wants somebody. Maybe we'll find something that he also lettered. I'm sure.
Or we could just make it up.
Or we just make it up.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep the DC train rolling.
Look at that.
And this isn't the end of the arc. These 4 issues. It's I think it concludes with issue 17 with the 5th part. But there was a Batman Superman World's Finest by the extremely talented creative team Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Tamra Bonvillain on colors, Steve Wands on letters. This was a bit of an okey doke, and I'm not mad about it because it starts off where we get the retelling of Metamorpho's origin because there's a Simon Stagg has been poisoned. And once that happens, as soon as Simon Stagg shows up in a story, Metamorpho isn't going to be far behind because Sapphire Stagg is not going to be far behind. So we get a neat little retelling of Rex Mason / Metamorpho's origin. Mora does a fantastic job with that. We the whole a little bit of some more body horror-rama because we actually, like, for one of the first times I recall, because I don't even think this was in Norton's Metamorpho Year 1 mini, the meteor that he found in the pyramid, we actually see it change and transform his body, and it is grotesque. I didn't think Mora could draw this ugly, and it's shocking and hella scary. But we find out that Batman and Robin are going to investigate the scene of the crime. Housekeeping found Stagg dead of poison, but Batman found no possible delivery system. The room was locked and bolted from the inside. Unfortunately, Rex Mason is AWOL. And that's pretty much suspect number 1. But while that's going on, Metamorpho was actually at the Metropolis History Museum preventing thieves from running out with some of the artifacts from the Egyptian wing. So while he takes care of them, Batman and Superman and Robin show up as well to talk to him, and Metamorpho has no knowledge that Simon Stagg has been murdered. Now, while that conversation is taking place, Jimmy Olsen is at Stagg Mansion to talk with Sapphire, but Java interrupts the interview and kicks Jimmy out. When we get back to our heroes, Metamorpho says, listen, I got to call Sapphire. Batman says, yeah, in a minute. You don't sound terribly upset. And there's a great panel of Metamorpho turning and seeing his reflection. He's like, well, yeah, well. And Batman says, but you also haven't asked me yet who killed him. And that always seems weird to me. But Rex is like, yeah, well, my bad for thinking about Sapphire first, but what is wrong with you? And Batman is just completely suspicious, downright judgmental, just thinking, listen, yeah, Rex, we've been friends for a long time, but I need you to tell me where you were this afternoon. And Rex is like, dude, I went helium. I was floating around the city taking in the sights. Are you calling me a suspect? And Batman's like, yo, bro, I'm just doing my job. It's all good, Rex. Give Sapphire my love. And he leaves. And Batman gets to the roof. And he's asking Superman if he's heard anything. And he's like, did I catch Rex lying? I can't tell with him. He has no traditional heartbeat. So, we can't really go by that. Turns out Stag was poisoned with a VX nerve gas, a banned substance, rare and hard to procure. But, of course, Rex can simply generate it. In gas or liquid form, he could exit Stag's suite without anybody even being aware of it, without notice. And Superman reminds Batman that, you always assume the worst, Bruce. We've known Metamorpho for years. Maybe not closely, but it just doesn't sound like him. And Batman, of course, says to Superman, I wish I could share your optimism, but never forget how evil and manipulative Stag could be. He's cost Wayne Enterprises alone millions by interfering in deals that would help people of Gotham, all because I once beat him at tennis. So, obviously nobody really likes Simon Stagg, but turns out that at the end of the first part, Jimmy and Bruce and Clark look at all the information and kind of sees whatever facts they had found where it all points to, and Clark just really doesn't want to publish his story, and Perry's like, if there's something, if you know something, that there's something you're not saying. So do you have some reason to believe that this man is innocent? And he says, and Clark is just saying he can't have done this. It's not him. And so Perry's just like, you tell me why he can't, and we won't run the story. And Clark's like, I can't. So Perry's like, well, then you leave me no choice. We're running this now, and the headline says Bruce Wayne arrested for the Stag murder. And Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya are escorting him away from Wayne Manor. But the second part, we have whether or not it was Bruce who killed him. There's while Bruce is out on bail, he's having a conversation with Oliver Queen. But Bruce just, something doesn't seem right with this conversation with Ollie. And when we get to the bottom of it, and Metamorpho and our heroes kind of team up a little bit because they're all working together to try to find out what the hell's going on. At Staggs' funeral, Bruce Wayne Bruce Wayne is not at the funeral. It really isn't well attended. It's Java, it's Metamorpho, it's Sapphire, it's Clark. But Clark and Bruce are putting pieces together, putting their heads together, and there has been something gnawing at Clark. So he did a X-ray vision inside the coffin using his X-ray vision. He says formaldehyde is a specific odor when interacting with the human body, and this isn't it, nor is that a human brain. And turns out that Stag was an android duplicate. So now we've completely changed from this murder mystery, this whodunit, this bringing Metamorpho into the world's finest universe, and now we have Ivo and Amazo, and basically Ted Cord, Oliver Queen, Tio Morrow, Magnus, anybody that is an inventor or scientist or works with AI or robots. Amazo has basically kidnapped them all and is putting them to work, and it's now it's now this plot to kind of basically destroy humanity. And we've got Ultramorpho, which is just this insane, almost Amazo kind of version of Metamorpho. You've got the Metal Men in action, and Red Tornado, and it's the penultimate chapter is just an insane amount of action and realizations and revelations, and Batman, of course, because they don't know Batman is Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne wasn't kidnapped, and they're just so Batman and Superman are both kind of are neutralized. Superman there's the kryptonite at one end of the room, and he's chained up, and so obviously he's not useless, but he's not chained up that he's like incapacitated, but he's not. He basically is just a normal person at this point. But you've got Batman was able to manipulate some of the workers on the factory line, like Toy Man and Dr. Bertram, and they basically made an arrowhead, and piecing together some rebar or whatever flat pieces they could find, they fashioned a bow, and not knowing that Oliver Queen is Green Arrow, the captors didn't. Batman hands all of this to Ollie, and Oliver is he fires the arrow at the kryptonite version of this Amazo, cracks the skin, breaks the machine open, and then some of the other bad guys on the factory line grab lead shielding and cover the android, so Superman's able to break free. And he's still a little weak, but before they can be attacked, you've got a whole bunch of heroes swooping down to join the battle, and they're trying to stop Ivo, but Ivo really isn't in control anymore. This new Mazo's kind of doing his own thing, and while some of our heroes think that they've kind of saved the day or at least solved the problem, they rescue Stag, and everybody's trying to get home. Batman is left with Supergirl, and then all of a sudden Supergirl's body starts to change and transform. In the last page, we see Amazo with a power ring, ready to attack Batman, and then then we get it to be concluded. So we'll get the resolution to this story. But it was just, like I said, I thought we were going with a whodunit and trying to figure out maybe who framed Metamorpho and how our heroes are going to get him off the hook. But then it becomes this other thing with all the other super smart folks from the DC universe being held hostage so they can do the work of an android who wants to basically take over the world. It was nuts. I thought it was going one direction, and Waid had it zagging somewhere else, but it just looks amazing all the way through. What I'm really enjoying about World's Finest, aside from, of course, the great art and getting Waid to write a story, is that we're getting Waid writing a story and Mora drawing this great art, bringing in so many of the DC and not the DC characters that like you're reading about in any of the other current DC books. This is kind of like this its own little kind of bubble universe where this moment is almost like caught in amber, where you have the versions of these heroes that I'm a fan of that are closer to what I was reading when I started reading. It's firing on all cylinders for me. It hits me right. It reminds me. It's not the same at all, but it's a similar feeling that I had when Tomasi was writing Super Sons and yeah, that awesome Jorge Jimenez art. But that's when it's just comfortable. I really like revisiting, or not even revisiting, but just remembering or having this like kind of rekindle the version of these heroes, because I'm not worried about how many reboots it's been or where this lines up with whatever version of whatever multiverse this is right now. I want fun, entertaining, good looking, well told stories, and that's exactly what I'm getting with World's Finest. It's absolutely one of my favorite books right now. It's easily a top 5 DC book for me. I mean, probably a top 5 book period, but it's so damn entertaining.
It's definitely a throwback to what I consider a much better time. I think it's I'm not going to call it fluffy, but it's lighthearted, which is good. I wish they all were like this.
Yeah. I mean, I like that there's something out there for everybody. Right. Whatever you're in the mood for, whoever you're grooving to, that's cool. You've gotten your certain creators, or this is your version of these characters, and that's great. So I like that we're not just one line across everything, and this is the world or universe you're living in. You've got whatever you're into, they're offering it to you. And we started off talking about the Hulk, and we mentioned previous Hulk writers. We mentioned Immortal Hulk. We glanced over the most recent version because not too many people were feeling that. So, and if it doesn't work, then you wait. You'll be able to come back and something will strike that something familiar that you enjoyed so much when you were reading whenever.
Yeah. Well, I have something that's definitely not for everybody.
Oh.
No. It's Red Room.
Oh, okay. No, it definitely is not.
No.
But I love to hear about it.
Yeah, you read at least the first issue, right?
I didn't read it in its entirety.
Okay. Expected. But this is the first issue of the newest arc of Red Room. It's called Crypto Killaz with a Z. Written and illustrated by Ed Piskor, of course, published by Fantagraphics. Well, I got to give Piskor credit, as always. Not only is the guy's a damn fine illustrator, but this issue is taking a break a bit from the graphic carnage that was kind of the showcase of previous arcs. I'm sure it's only momentary, but a lull it is nonetheless, because it showcases the fallout after the death of Davis J. Fairfield, a.k.a. the Decimator, a.k.a. the Steel City Cannibal, at the hands of scumbag deviant lawyer Dominic Simone. There's a saying. There's a lot of foreshadowing in Red Room. Piskor really has planned this out. Something was teased in the very first issue of the very first arc that comes to play not only in the last arc, but in this one primarily. Davis had a saying. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And there's a little patch that was sewed into his daughter Brianna's backpack. And it may just seem like a trifle, right? But it plays out because after after the death of her father and everybody finds out what the dude was up to, Brianna is assaulted by the media. And not only the media, but like the general population, because, her father was a cannibal. He was a murderer. He was a serial killer. Nasty business, right? So she's down and out. She can't even ride the bus. People recognize her, start, flinging hate in her direction. She didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, it was her daddy's job in more ways than one. So she's let go from her job because her employer doesn't want the hassle of having somebody in the place that is an infamous. She's not infamous, but her father is. So therefore, shit can be rained down on his establishment. So she's let go. She's got very little money or resources. Dad didn't have any life insurance. And to make it all that worse, the girl's hounded by sneaky DeSimone, the lawyer. He breaks into her house. He rifles through the place. He tries on her undergarments. Yes, you read that right. You heard that right. He tries on her bra and stuff and looks at himself in the mirror. And the dude was expressly forbidden by Mistress Pentagram to do so. And he works for Mistress Pentagram. In her own words, she said, "I abhor stupid mistakes and unnecessary risks." And that's exactly what this guy is doing. Because how has she been in this murder business for so long? Because of her cautiousness and her discretion. And some scumbag asshole lawyer with massive fetishes and a mad-on for this girl could fuck things up for her. So she told him, just let it go. It's better left in the past. It's not going to come to any kind of fruition. So just don't do it. Leave her alone. And he's like, yeah, okay. And here's the problem. Mistress Pentagram just lost her cash cow. She wants to be the number one Red Room. And now that the Decimator's gone, she needs desperately a replacement. You got to fill up them coffers with the Bitcoin. So she needs somebody to fill those shoes. And she discovers that Dominic was doing exactly what she forbade him to do. He tries to break into Brianna's new crib. She abducts him. She paralyzes him. And then she begins to break the man's spirit in order to rewire him to better suit his new position as a Red Room killer. Like the guy, if you don't remember, but early in the series, the guy just could not get enough of the Red Room stuff. He's extremely bloodthirsty, very mean-spirited. The more graphic and brutal the Red Room's antics got, the more he enjoyed it. Like he would throw stupid amounts of money at these people. He's in real deep, right? And Piskor teased this way, way back in the first issue of the Antisocial Network. She told him, "You fuck up, and you're going to find yourself killing in the Red Room." And you didn't pay any attention to it. And here, it's coming to the forefront. Piskor also teased Davis's bad heart. Many issues would showcase the fact that he was a big guy. He was extremely overweight. And Piskor would put little things in there where his heart was not perfect, and that's how he died. DeSimone killed him with a pinprick he injected him with shit that made his heart go kablooey. But what's that? I said that Brianna didn't have much money? How can she afford a new place to live? This is where the patch comes in. She's looking at her backpack, and she's like, the patch always makes her smile. Even though her life is a shitstorm and Daddy wasn't what she thought he was. Like, she suspected something was up, going into past arcs, but she didn't know about the Red Room business, right? And so she's looking at the patch and she's smiling. She notices in the corner there's like a gap in the thread, in the stitches. So she peels it back and she pulls out a piece of paper. And on the paper is a QR code for a paper wallet. And she scans the code, and Davis's crypto wallet is rebuilt. And Brianna is now flush with crypto. $300 million. The girl is dripping with Bitcoin. And then she's which makes her wonder, what the frig was my father involved in? Like, she is stupid rich now. That's how much money he made in the Red Rooms. Like, he would. There's one point in a prior arc where Mistress Pentagram finds him $1 million because he was killing people outside of the Red Rooms, and she just couldn't have it because it's a possibility that she'll be discovered. So she's like, I'm going to fine you $1 million, and he just shrugs it off. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this series, again, if you even have the slightest inkling of what this thing is about, it's not for everybody. It is brutal and savage as hell. But, and Piskor even acknowledges in this issue that in the beginning of it, Bitcoin is the shit. Like, the cryptocurrency is the rage. Towards the end, not so much. Like, it's stated in the narrative that crypto's on the decline, which is pretty cunning, pretty savvy, right? And at least keeping up with the times. But I think initially I said, what the hell is Ed doing? Like, this is nothing like not gangster rap posse. I'm thinking of our friend Mr. Mora, the hip hop stuff, and it's completely unlike the X-Men stuff that he did for Marvel, but it's really cool, and you know me, it's transgressive. If you show me a character being ripped apart, boiled in oil, like many body parts ripped off and stuck in their faces, like, I'm going to love it because it's not something you see every day, right? It's really uncompromising. And I think it's brave, incredibly brave for Piskor to have gone down this route, especially considering the premise and the themes of this thing. Like, it's nasty business all around, but I kind of love it. And it's been a while since I talked about it because you can't bring Red Room to the table, every couple episodes. You need a little breather in between, and that's what I've done. Like, I usually wait for the arcs to finish until I read them, but this one, I don't know. I read the last one. I said, well, I had it. I might as well just continue. That's why I'm talking about it. But it's really well done. The illustration is chef's kiss. Like, he's really talented with a pen, a pencil and pen. He is. You can't front on Piskor's drawing ability. You really can't. At least I can't. I mean, the proof is right on the page there. The guy is fucking talented, extremely so. And but it pays off. This issue was really neat in that there was a brief, like, the story ended, but then it picked up again, which I thought was neat. It was almost like a Kirby chapter break, if you remember. Commandy was busted up into chapters, as was other of Jack's DC work. And that was kind of the feel here. It didn't expressly say chapter 2, like Jack used to shove it down your throat. But it just had that feeling, that breathability, that, okay, this part of the story is now gone the distance, and now we're going here. And I like that. I like chapter breaks. I think it's a neat little touch, and it's pretty effortless, right, to do it. But it's a pause, and I think in something like Red Room, you need a pause.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I will say, reading an entire arc of this stuff, holy crap! Like, you need a shower. after it, because it's extremely vicious. It's people being killed for sport and money. Like that's brutal. But Ed doesn't shiv. Like it's right there on the page, man. He doesn't cut corners. And design wise, I think he's tip top too. Like Mistress Pentagram, that design, people have gotten her tattooed on their bodies. I don't know what that says about the canvases, but I think the design of Mistress Pentagram is incredible. He really plugged into something way outside of the norm with that. But I think he was very successful in that design, and just the whole book in general. Like a lot of the characters are really well designed. But I love it. If you're brave and you haven't read Red Room, give it a try. I would maybe sample the first issue before you do. Like there are many ways to do that. I didn't think DC did a free comic book day Red Room, I believe, at one point. Maybe you can scare that up. I wouldn't invest in it if you're not entirely sure what you're getting, because it's abrasive. It is like tearing off a massive Band-Aid that you've had on for a while. It's gonna sting, right? Mm-hmm. But I just love it. I do. What does that say about me? I don't know. I can dispel my concerns for the human race long enough to enjoy this, I guess. Yeah. Red Room, Crypto Killaz with a Z. It's trendy. Written and illustrated by Ed Piskor. Fantagraphics bravely publishes it. So go get it if you're adventurous. There you go. I'm looking at the clock on the wall, my friend. We did a stretch.
Not bad.
Ah,
look at you.
Look at that.
We didn't even get to finish Carnage Reigns.
We could save that. We could save Monomyth. We got a lot of things on deck.
Yes, we do.
The Magic Order, we read all of that. I got a tip of the hat to Jason, too, for kicking me in the ass to read that.
You know, it's...
I don't want to say it while he's here.
Right. No, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
He won't listen to this. This was... Magic Order was a series, it still is a series, that I have all the issues of. I ordered them as they were coming out. Quapel, come on. So, like, it'd be stupid not to. But then the second book came out, and I didn't read the first 6 issues. But I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop now. Because it's Miller, so I'm sure there's going to be... If he's making a sequel to the first mini, then there has to be something there. So... True. Because how many of the other books has he done for Image and part of the Netflix deal that really haven't gotten... I'm not talking about Jupiter's Legacy but I mean, Kingsman had a sequel, but I don't think Wanted did. Kick-Ass seems to be going on forever, but he doesn't do a lot with... everything he does, he doesn't constantly just keep coming out with new series of that title. So, second book came out, second miniseries was announced. It's like, well, I gotta get that then. Still hadn't read the first. Then a third came out. I'm like, well, like you with the Hulk, going past 10 issues. I can't stop now. So I have all 18 from the first 3. I have the first 5. I have all the 5 to date from book 4, waiting for the 6th issue to come out because it's going to be like a doozy. I don't know why. I used to kind of just like self trade weight as a reward because I was going to school. So I would when I was going for graduate work, So okay, I'm rewarding myself. I would always buy issues, but I wouldn't sit down to read them until as a reward to myself. And by that time, I could have just bought a trade, but still, I had the issues. So I was reading them that way. So that's kind of what I was doing with Magic Order. Then they just kept getting buried further and further down.
Yeah.
The regime, the stacks of books that I'm surrounded by. So, with the big game coming out next month, we're still in June, in July, knowing that a lot of what Miller's been doing is all leading to that. I figured, it's easy enough to get caught up on 5 or so issues of Nemesis Reloaded. It's easy to read a few minis here and there, but I mean, now we're talking about something that's 24 issues worth. I need to get on this, and I did, and yeah. So we all read everything up to date, the first 3 volumes and what we have of the 4th, and it's absolutely wonderful. There's something about Miller. He's not necessarily reinventing the wheel. It's still good versus evil, but the way he's telling that story, like you seriously think there are moments where you really don't know how the good guys are going to get out of this mess. How are they going to save the day? And he does it in a way, for me at least, where I cannot deny how much joy his stories bring me. And even when there's so many other stories, there's so many other forms of media where, you don't know who you can trust, or someone isn't who they appear to be, someone's lying. And there may be a lot of that in the Magic Order, but it's just a lot of stories I read, I know where we're going to end up. So it's the journey, not necessarily the destination. But here, I gotta see how he's going to wrap up a story, and especially with Magic Order, like with everything that's been going on since the first volume, since the first book, since we were introduced to the Moonstone Clan. It's an amazing piece of work. It is. It may. Out of everything I've read from him, I'd have to seriously sit down and think about how I would rank it. But the Magic Order is without a doubt near the top of that list. I mean, even his co-creators, the artist he has working on each of the different volumes, it's fantastic. I cannot believe how much I'm enjoying this series.
Yeah. It's easy for me. I think it's the best thing he's ever written.
Okay. I mean, so that's
flat out. Yeah. But the thing is, so obviously the magic is at the core of these books. Magic and magic users, wizards, if you will, right? I think Miller's take on magic is far more accessible than Morrison's.
I agree.
Especially to the layman. Like, Morrison knows what he's talking about because he practices, but I'm sure Miller doesn't. But he presents the same deep concepts, inventive concepts as Morrison, but in a far more accessible way. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to be clever or manipulate things to suit his. A lot of Morrison's work in terms of magic is impenetrable to somebody who doesn't know the lingo or isn't experienced in that stuff, right? You don't have to delineate every like Nihei, right? We're told that this is a nano blah 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 parasite. Blah, blah, blah. You don't need that when you're talking about magic. It just is, right? Mm-hmm. Just to say that I just did this spell that completely overwrote reality. And this is how it did it. But you don't have to get into the nitty gritty of it and do the formulas and have the flow chart and all that shit. It's unnecessary. It's enough to say what it is or show what it is and let the reader absorb, right? That's what Miller does. I think the concepts are stupid inventive, extremely so. But he does them in a way that enhances the narrative and doesn't require you to stop reading it, pull up the Google, and it's like, what the fuck is he talking about here? Blah, 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 blah. Baphomet, like, what is that? Like, it's fast food magic, but done so in a really inventive and enjoyable way. I think at the end of the art, when you've finished it and you understand it, isn't that the goal of the writer, to present concepts and situations and storylines that connect with your readers? Can you really describe a lot of the stuff that went down in Final Crisis to somebody who hasn't read comics for a long time, isn't well versed in physics or mathematics or magic or the paranormal? Like, it's just not going to connect. But Miller takes that stuff and translates it into a language that everybody can understand. That's beautiful. That's a goal. Like, yes, we know Morrison. We know you're a very talented writer and you're extremely smart. Maybe a little too smart, right? Because I think they're not only trying to dazzle the reader, they're trying to dazzle themselves, right? Yeah. With their intelligence. And again, Morrison, they're very smart. But sometimes at the expense of the story.
I know that there's because I think Faust talked about it, but there's an author out there who made sense of all of Morrison's comic work and actually kind of like made a timeline how everything kind of connects. And I know that the man they're extremely talented, no doubt about it. Morrison is.
I almost fucked up on the pronoun. I think I did.
No, you didn't. You were good. They can't argue. Extremely talented. But they're also a writer who, at times, more often than not, and probably more than just about any other writer, I don't think I'm smart enough to enjoy the work. And there are times where I just feel like I need a PhD to get what they're trying to do. And it's, I'm not going to go apples and oranges or try to compare Miller to Morrison. It's you said it, with it being accessible and just, anybody can just kind of pick this up. And as violent and as bawdy as it may be, it's still listen, these are magic spells and they're just, this is how they're being presented here and this is what they do. And it's great, but you don't need to worry about you can kind of follow along just visually. You don't need to read every little thing about how this particular spell came about and what was
right.
It can be a little bit too much.
Right. In Miller's fictional construct, magic works. It just does. And he'll tell you why it works and show you the effects of whatever magic thing is at the forefront of the part you're reading. Morrison revels in telling you why it works. Mm-hmm. And that's great for someone who cares about that, right? But if it's not there, does it hinder the storyline in any way? I don't think so. I really don't. Yes, it's great to have information. It's great to be given information to make this fiction that you're consuming more real, more believable, more alive, right? But and I'm speaking as someone who loves William Burroughs, who revels in David Lynch and Mark Frost. Like, talk about impenetrable, right? I love it, but there are times, a lot of times, when I'm reading Morrison stuff and I feel like I need a guidebook, or I need the wall with the red string showing me how all these things connect, and going back into DC's Silver Age, and that's why this is important, because this happened 40 years ago. And it's exhausting. It's too much work. What's the payoff for all my investment? That I understand? Great. I understand. Wonderful. If the story isn't impacted by me understanding this little bit that he thought relevant enough to, they thought relevant enough to make themselves happy, but it doesn't change any of the outcomes or the permutation or what's going on. Like, so great, it's there. Okay, that's why I'm the same way a lot of times with these videos that break apart a scene in a Marvel movie and show you everything. Like, look at this in this corner here underneath the magazine. That was the screwdriver used by, like, whatever. That's great. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't, it's just, it's fluff. It's ironic because it's not fluff. It's meta, right? But it doesn't have any bearing on the forefront of what's going on. Should you decide to go into that realm and decipher all these Easter eggs, that's great. What more power to you. But to me, that has zero factor into the piece as a whole. Like, it doesn't make me appreciate it any more or less. I don't know how you feel about that kind of stuff, but I just think it's extraneous. It's like a fifth wheel. What is it doing? Is it guiding the vehicle, or is it hindering? I don't know. And I don't want to detract from Morrison's work. Obviously a brilliant person who has written things that I cherish. I really do. And I guess you know,
talked about Book of the Months from him.
Yeah,
so.
You could say the same thing about Alan Moore. Like, I could see somebody reading Promethea and going, the fuck is this? This is just bizarre, impenetrable stuff. But I live in that realm. And Moore is much more adept at the bite-sized chunks than Morrison is, I think. I don't know. It's a hard. So we don't have enough time to adequately go into this. I would love to, given some time to prepare, just uncover. And I think it's and when I do say more in the same breath as Morrison, I mean it. I think Morrison has written some stuff that can go shoulder to shoulder with Moore. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But at this stage in my life, look at the things I consume. I'm more concerned about entertainment than I am with narrative wizardry and deep, complex concepts. I just want to be entertained. Right? Again, Morrison is entertaining. I have to just drive by a good amount of the concepts that they feel the need to insert into their work. Coming from the person that absolutely adores Animal Man, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I'm undecided or conflicted or one of those things. Saying that the complexity of the work is not important. On the one hand, I'd slap myself in the face for saying, 10 years ago, But now it's just I take a more laid back approach to my entertainment as far as comics goes. Like you know me, I still read tons of magic themed books and texts. I love it, but I don't. There's a part of me that feels the complexities of that stuff is unnecessary, as proven by Mark Miller. You don't need it. I always glossed over Zatanna when she was starting to talk backwards. I didn't. I mean, it's cute, but again, it's just a complexity that I don't think the work needs. I don't know. But that's minor. I mean, we're talking about really hardcore concepts that whatever. So yeah, that's a tease, and I'm glad we didn't get too deep into the actual storylines of Magic Order, because I don't think you can do so without spoiling a lot of the payoffs that come after book one. Like, you could talk book one to for hours. Book two is entirely hinged on the events of book one, as is book three to the one before it, as is book four. Like, there's this organic unraveling that Miller has crafted that's extremely entertaining to see play out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Completely unexpected too. Totally, you think it's totally out of left field. Obviously, I mean, as you see things play out, it was obviously intended, and he knows exactly what he was doing. But it's the way it's played out, the way everything is explained, the way the stories are progressing. You think, not necessarily straightforward, but you just think whatever happened in a previous volume or whatever happened, a few pages back, that's it. But it's magic, and it's still comics, but he still finds a way to knock me on my ass and hit me with the unexpected.
Yeah.
And I've been reading these things long enough, and I've been aware of certain concepts long enough where so few things really should surprise me, especially in a book about magic.
Right.
But this motherfucker just, and he's a goddamn magician. I can't.
It's magic for the masses. It really is, and that's not. Yeah. That's not saying that he's dumbed it down. He hasn't. It's extremely challenging, but it's presented in a delicious little shell that makes it going down a hell of a lot easier. Yeah, and like, whoever thought Uncle Edgar? Like, in the beginning, I'm just like, okay, this old dude.
And he keeps saying, "I can't leave these walls."
Right?
We get it. I can't.
And then, holy shit! It's like, oh my god. Yeah, it's good stuff. But let's get deep into it. Like, let's give it the respect and the attention that it deserves, I think. I almost wish it was a book of the month.
I was just about to say, once Big Game starts or whatever like that, we'll give it some time, and maybe we can just do the whole, because even though it's 24 issues, it's not. I mean, we've read longer books than that. It still goes by. It's not super dense. He relies on his artist a lot, and it's great. And yeah, there are some pages that are kind of wordy, but still.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
It took less time to read this than Sandman Mystery Theater.
Yeah, it's super smooth.
And that was 4 issues. So I mean, it's like So
I'll also go there. I don't think Coppell is the best artist on the 4 books either. I mean, I'm not detracting from Coppell's work. It's gorgeous.
It's a hell of a start.
Yeah, I don't think there are better, for my money. And that's saying something. When Coppell is not the peak.
I know. Is he second or third?
Not sure. We'll get into it. Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But just loaded with really cool concepts. And
the characters are cool too. I mean, the families are great, and again, and these aren't. It's like, Good versus Evil, Hatfields and McCoys. It's not. He's not breaking new ground, but
No.
the way he's presenting it to you is just what makes it just. Oh God,
Yeah. It's going to be a
gorgeous.
killer collected. I'm sure they're gonna collect. it
Yeah, I
all
wonder
into
if I'll
one.
double dip. Damn.
Well, yeah, I will.
I,
So there you go. As usual, as always, please remember that this episode has been sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com. CheapGraphicNovels.com. It's right there in the name. Remember, the Romnibus pre-order is live. And I think it's called Rom, the original Marvel use or something like that. But all you got to know is it's the Romnibus. It collects a huge chunk of Bill Mantlow's Rom run. It's 40% off. $125 on the back, but you're not going to pay that. It's only $74.99. $50 savings. Go to our website, 11o'clockcomics.com. Search for the episode thread, 860, and the link will be right there. You don't have to search for it. You don't have to sweat. Just click on it, order it, and you'll be a better person for it. And remember, once you do make your first order, you will receive an email confirmation that says, "Thank you for ordering from cheapgraphicnovels.com." And you're going to reply to that email saying 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you will receive free shipping on your second order. Because we love you. That's why.
it's true.
Yes. And check out our Patreon page while you're at it. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Take a look around. We'd love to have you join the family if you like what you see. In your travels, I have 2 books. One's real quick. It's another Marvel book. What the hell's happening? But it is a black, white, and red book. I don't know how you feel about that. What with you being the Grendel loyalist and all, but you are. But
it makes sense here.
It does. The black, white, and red. Let's call it a shtick, because it kind of is at this point. Has become very popular. There was Deadpool, black, white, and red. Logan, black, white, and red.
Right.
Yeah, Elektra. There's been a bunch of them, and I think it's kind of cool because it gives me a better glimpse into the line work when it's not, chunked with all the color. It just comes to the forefront a lot better. This book, Star Wars, Darth Vader, black, white, and red. It's an anthology. There is a link. The issues are all connected by one storyline, though. Jason Aaron wrote it. Leonard Kirk drew it. It's called Hard Shutdown. That alone is a good reason to pick up this anthology. It's very good. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think you should read it. But issue 3 has the absolute best reason for you to check out this anthology, because it features a story aptly titled Annihilated by our good buddy Daniel Warren Johnson. And this short is outstanding. If the prequels soured you a little on Darth Vader or the potency of Darth Vader as a villain, this issue is a good reset, or this Daniel Warren Johnson story is a good reset. It will make you forget all about bitchy, whiny little Anakin and remember the villainy of Darth Vader, because he, like I said, the title Annihilation is incredibly appropriate because Vader takes out a massive amount of people all by himself. It's insane. It is really crazy. I'm just gonna leave it there. If you have a hankering to see Darth Vader just let loose and kick ass, you need this issue. It's issue 3. But get them all because they're well worth it. I think it's a very cool concept, focusing on somebody who, over the years, needs to be fleshed out and set back to his villainous ways. Just, a little opinion. But here's the one I really wanted to talk about. I think, and I'm going to say it, and whatever, let the chips fall where they may. This is the best book on the stands right now, as far as I'm concerned. But remember, I am a horror fan. I am a horror movie fan. I have been my entire life. There is nothing on the stands right now that massages my heart like this book. It's written by David Avallone, illustrated by Kewber, color art by Walter Pereyra. It's Elvira in Monsterland, number 2. Not going to go deep into the storyline because it's pretty much more of the same as started in the first issue. Vlad the Impaler is amassing a monster army. In the first issue, he was collecting Draculas. In the second issue, he sets his sight on Frankensteins. Not the monsters, but their creator. Because why waste time grabbing the creations when the creator can generate an endless supply, right? And Elvira thinks to herself, wait a minute. That's way too smart for Vlad. Like, he did not come up with that on his own. She's thinking, there has to be somebody else pulling the strings. And that's pretty much the entirety of the story. In the second issue, Vlad is chasing down Henry Frankenstein and the monster. And you know the shtick. He's got the remote that lets him pop into classic horror movies. And he settles into Bride of Frankenstein. Have you ever seen Bride of Frankenstein?
The movie?
Yeah.
Probably years ago.
Well, he jumps into the famous scene where Elsa Lanchester, as the bride, looks at the monster. Elsa is his intended bride, the whole title, there you go. And she screams. She's repulsed by him. All the characters are there. And Elvira stops Vlad because Vlad learned from Christopher Lee how to mesmerize people. He didn't know how to do that previous. And Christopher Lee taught him how to do the old vampire mind trick on people and turn them to be his slaves. It works on some characters in here, but it doesn't work on the bride. And Vlad grabs the monster and goes through a portal. And so the bride of Frankenstein is standing there with Elvira. And Elvira got thrown to the ground. And the bride helps her up. And she says, thanks, beautiful. Elsa, the bride breaks character. It's Elsa Lanchester now, the actress that played the bride of Frankenstein. She breaks character and tells Elvira that she realizes that she, a woman born of man, get this will fry your frickin' synapses. This is like one of the best panels I've ever seen in my life. Okay? Long life. So Elsa Lanchester tells Elvira that she realizes that she's the sister to Maria and the grandmother of Rachel. That may not make sense to anyone, but it does to me, because Maria in question is Bridget Helm from Fritz Lang's Metropolis, a woman created by man. And Sean Young's character of Rachel in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner was a replicant created by man. It's almost too much for me. Like the joy that I derived from this one panel, I almost died. I almost just died, turned into a puddle of quivering goo. That is brilliant. That is absolutely, it's legendary. It's an amazing panel. It's crazy how good this is. Like, again, if you're not a horror movie fan, this is going to be like, whatever. But it's that again, Morrisonian, we'll go back to that, conceptual continuity where Avallone's linking things, disparate, random shit from movies and pulling them together in a way that makes absolutely perfect sense. And again, call me nuts, but that one panel made my entire year so far. It's beautiful. It glitters like a diamond. It's so clear in concept. It's amazing. But anyway, you may recall the original Universal Frankenstein in 1931, where the monster's sitting there on the banks of the water with little Maria, and they're throwing flowers into the water and watching them float. And the monster runs out of flowers, so he picks up little Maria and throws her in the lake and in the water, and she drowns. Right? Elvira gets there before he can throw Maria into the water and stops the monster from doing it. Kicks him in the balls. She's like, I hope your creator went to the extent, because she kicks him in the balls, and she has a one-on-one with Maria. Right? So I don't know if you recall the famous scene where the father's walking down the street with the dead daughter in his arms. Elvira goes, "You're not dead." And the girl's like looking at him, going, "Shut up." It's so great. It is just amazing. It's a wonderful series. Like it's really stupid how much joy I'm getting out of it. But this book is lighting my entire world on fire. It's burning it down. We love thought balloons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, there's
I saw the panel you posted.
Yeah, there's a panel where Elvira's talking to herself out loud, and Vlad comes in. He goes, "You crazy? Why are you talking to yourself out?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I remember that could have been a thought balloon because Avallone's trying to bring those back." Like, breaks the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. Acknowledges that she is a character in a comic book, and that she needs to rely on comic book conventions because the writer loves it and wants to bring it back. Insane. It's just completely insane. Elvira in Monsterland #2. Just read it. Again, if you're a horror fan, you're not reading this, you are sorely missing out. This is the book of the year. I don't need a book to be the link that restores humanity. Like, Jason loves the stuff that has depth and meaning and social relevance. No, this is my stuff.
No.
This is my stuff. Elvira Monsterland. Get it.
That's great. I love that you love it. And it does look good. I'm going to give it a shot because it does look so great. I decided to give something from Dark Horse a shot. Not necessarily against my better judgment. It's a parody. It's you know exactly what it's supposed to be mocking, for lack of a better word. It's a 4-issue miniseries. I read the first couple of issues. I just started the third this afternoon, but I'm just going to talk about the first issue. Written by David A. Goodman, who, aside from being the president of the Writers Guild of America West, he is a writer and producer. He's written for The Golden Girls, written for Futurama, written for Star Trek Enterprise. He was a producer, or executive producer for Family Guy. He's done a lot in Hollywood. You might recognize him. You've probably heard his voice. Anytime Ray Romano gets impersonated and someone's not trying to impersonate Ray Romano and just like speak normally, it's probably this guy speaking normally. The book is illustrated by Alvaro Sarraseca, who has done a lot of work for Dynamite, for Top Cow. He's done. He did Turok for Dynamite. He's worked for Aftershock. The style is. It looks to be like there might be some reference material used as far as the characters go, and some of them might even be maybe celebrities. I mean, we're not talking about like Salvador and New Universal, but there are some faces that kind of look a little familiar, as if this were to be made into something live action. They already know who they have in mind to play the parts. But it's a book called Space Job, and it's not serious at all, because the ship that we're focusing on in the first panel is the SS George H.W. Bush. And Danny Sheridan is ready to be the new first officer on the Bush. And just last week, he was working in the kitchen. And then he finds out that he got a promotion. He was working towards it. He finally got it. And now he's just, you just know he's an asshole right off the bat, because aside from, like, why you would just think you could go from kitchen duty to being first officer on the bridge of a ship, that baffles me. But he figures, he's thinking to himself, this makes total sense. The captain of the Bush must have seen that a chef's assistant is the perfect preparation to becoming a first officer. He's only 29. There are probably officers on the ship that are older and have more years of service. And then he says, but they're going to find out pretty quick that I'm not going to take any shit. He'll be sorry he didn't carry out an order fast enough for me. That asshole, whoever he's talking to. Those guys will be jealous of me and my rank. And that first officer's get a personal assistant, a yeoman. She'll probably be a first-year ensign, probably no more than 21. Even though fraternization is frowned upon, she won't tell anybody because she'll be worried about it. He's got this whole thing mapped out. He's just like, he's going to be taking over the ship in no time. But the Bush is not docking at the station that he's, stationed on. So he's calling out. He uses the comms and alerts the Bush, and they respond back. And he says, listen, this is Daniel Sheridan, the first officer of the SS Bush. And the person on the other end of the comm is like, our first officer is dead. He's like, I know. I'm his replacement. He's like, well, you're not on the ship, so you haven't replaced him yet. They're going back and forth. So he's fed up. He puts on a spacesuit. He's going to float over to the ship with his duffel bag. The duffel bag was not designed for the vacuums in space, so everything in the duffel bag kind of just explodes, and everything kind of drifts off into nowhere. And now he is trying to float to the ship. At first, it looks like he's going to miss it, but he ends up making it. Can't stop, bangs into the ship, finds the airlock, gets inside, and there is a cute but slightly chubby red-headed young lady in glasses who happens to be his yeoman, and he's all pissed. He's like, this better not be my yeoman. This is bullshit. I can't believe I got somebody who looks like her. He's like, she's asking, if you have any belongings. And he's like, do I look like I have it? He's just berating her. Do I look like I have any belongings? She's like, well, I can help you out of your spacesuit. If I wanted out of my spacesuit, I'd have told you I needed help. And he makes his way to the bridge. And the bridge is pretty much empty, except for the communications officer, who is talking to their partner. And there is the helmsman has this little, like, plexiglass or lucite box, clear box, that some strange looking alien is inside of. And very, very kind of like one word answers from the helmsman, doesn't give a lot. So the first officer asks if that's the first officer's chair, and he says, "I'm going to sit down." And he starts messing around with the panel, and all of a sudden, a like 6-inch piece of plastic shoots into the guy's forehead, and the panel, the armrest on the officer's chair, is smoking. So obviously, something went on with the chair. The captain shows up on the bridge, an overweight dude, kind of looking like Oliver Platt. And he's like, "Well, fuck me. That's the new first officer, isn't it?" And so he's like, "Why didn't anybody tell this guy that's how the first officer he's replacing died?" It's like, well, he's been on board for 10 minutes. Nobody could talk to him. And that's what a lot of this book is. There's a lot of snarky, smart ass answers by people who are selfish. And I really, really, really should not like this book, because there are so many characters who are just not likable. And the captain is waiting for a desk that he won on eBay. They haven't left this area of space yet because they're still waiting for cargo. And the captain calls in one of his officers while he's on the toilet. So the door's open, and he's like, "Well, I'll come back." And he's like, "Oh, no." He's like, "Why would you do that? I just called for you." And then he says, "But I called you here. Now I know I called you here. I called you here because I know you feel responsible." And he's like, "Well, actually, I don't." He's like, No. Well, you should, because it's kind of your fault that that guy died." And it's like, no, it doesn't. And so he flushes the toilet, and homeboy says, "So you didn't wash your hands?" And your favorite line of the book: "False alarm. No captain's log today. Now what was I saying?" And it's just, it's kind of that childish humor. The captain's a prick. When he's talking about the kind of desk that he won, he's talking about other captains on other ships. They have like these beautiful like walnut desks, but because it's the future and there aren't as many trees around, he's talking about how his desk is made from pressboard, and it's so rare because they don't make desks like that anymore. And it's just like, you couldn't be more stupid. And that's just how these people are in control or commanding a spaceship. Completely boggles my mind. There are a couple of crew members that are just trying to get by and do their job, but for the most part, the captain, the helmsman, the first officer is dead. They did an autopsy, but the captain needs the first officer alive because when the admiral calls him and says, "You need a first officer," he says, No, I have a first officer." He says, "No, your first officer is dead." He's like, No. It's a work in progress. We're getting him back. And if he doesn't survive, then I'll promote from within. And the admiral says, 3 weeks ago, you didn't have anybody worth promoting. What changed? He's like, "Oh, well, 3 weeks is a lot." He's just going back and forth. He's making excuses. I haven't figured out why yet. But there's just a bunch of boxes and cargo on this ship. I don't know why he's doing what he's doing, but getting there is painful and humorous. Goodman obviously knows the foundation of these old science fiction shows. He's written for Star Trek. He knows a lot about Star Trek because the Futurama episode that he wrote was devoted heavily to Trek lore. So this is all very familiar. It's kind of, this is what I kind of figured the Orville to be like, because I still haven't tried watching that show yet. But this is just, it's weird. This is a Weird in Your Travels. It went on way too long. It doesn't sound like something that I would probably recommend, but for some reason I actually am. It's only 4 issues. 4th issue I think came out this week, but it looks great. Sarraseca's art is is wonderful, and it's just I want to see where Goodman's taking this. I gotta finish it now. I'm halfway done, so I'll see it through to the end. But it's weird. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think I was going to like it. Part of me kind of doesn't, but there is stuff here that I do enjoy, and I'm just it's a weird one. But yeah, in your travels from Dark Horse, Space Job. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
I was looking at my list and I'm just like, you know what? I was reading this before we started tonight, so let me riff on this then. And it's just, but yeah, not too many likable characters. But it's pretty. It's nice to look at.
Awesome. Cool. I'll have to check it out. All right, you people, thank you for being here with us one more time. We hope you come back next time because we have a surprise for you.
Yes.
Yep. There will be someone in the third chair, but I won't say who.
No, you shouldn't.
Not. You'll like it. You'll love it. You'll thank us.
You will love it.
Yes.
Because you loved it last time.
Go to some comic shop or online institute and get yourself some comics. Read them, love them, talk about them. We'll have a sandwich, maybe some cookies waiting for you when you come back next time. In the meantime, say good night. I'm going around the microphone. David.
Good night.
That bass intro is freaking killer. What do you mean? You got this.
That fucking guy. David.
Nice.
All because he kicked the dog.
He did?
That's why I got kicked out of Metallica.
I didn't hear that story. He kicked a dog?
He kicked out Phil's dog.
Wow. Well, he was an angry young man back then.
He's an angry old man.
Right, but I think he's mellowed. I mean, cancer will do that to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had, I think, throat, some kind of upper body cancer, throat or neck or something. Yeah. But independent of his antics outside of the recording room, the guy's massively talented. I think he's a better guitarist than Kirk.
Really?
Yes. I think Kirk, Master of Puppets aside, can be boring.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got it wrong. Hetfield's the asshole. Hetfield kicked Mustaine's dog.
Well, there you go.
He was selling pot, but people stole everything he had. He figured, screw this, I'm going to get some dogs to stay in the apartment when I leave. So I got 2 dogs, took one of them up to rehearsal one time, and she put her paws up on Ron McGovney's, Metallica's then bassist, car, and James kicked it right in the side. And I was like, what the fuck did you do? And he's like, it's a dog. It's what they do. You don't kick animals. So we went into the house. We started arguing. I ended up punching him in the face, and I think that was that's what caused me to lose my job with the band.
Good on you, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that reverse for so fucking long.
Nobody kicks a dog.
God, fucking kick a dog.
Yeah.
What do you mean you kick a dog?
We're out of here, people. Come back next time. We love you so much, and he's going to tell you that right now.
So much.
Right.
Y'all best come back.
That's it for that one.